G'day, Franco Colapinto is back and he was the big story at the track today. This is the first time we'll see him in an Alpine car on track. He arrived early but went to the wrong entrance. Well, he knew which entrance he was going to, but all of his PR people were waiting at the other entrance. Anyway, once he came in, he was besieged. He was chirpy, he was chatty. He then went out and did a seat fitting, caught up with his pals from ESPN Latin America, who gifted him one of these Stanley Cups with a Messi logo on it. Both of these athletes are hugely popular in Argentina. And note that the ESPN Latin American crew normally numbers 4, but this race 12. At that rate, they'll have round-the-clock coverage of Franco. But in the press conference, Franco was asked about his 5 races, and it was pointed out that Jack had 7. Franco has 2 fewer races than that, and he has to prove himself in order to keep that seat. But he does have behind him some fiercely passionate fans. Some of them were just over-aggressive with their comments, both on Alpine and Jack Doohan's social media pages, some of them even making threats. But that aside, he will focus on results at Imola, although there are plenty of team dramas playing out in the background. He was announced as Jack Doohan's replacement the day after Oliver Oakes resigned as team principal. Oliver promptly left for Dubai and has been uncontactable after his brother was arrested by English police. So what's gone on there? Well, in short, William Oakes, brother of Ollie and fellow director at High Tech Racing, was found in possession of a large amount of cash when stopped in Silverstone Park on May 1. He was charged with transferring criminal property and remanded in custody after an appearance in Northampton Magistrates Court. Both William and Oliver are directors of High Tech GP. High Tech runs teams in F2, F3, GB3, F4 and F1 Academy. High Tech's made no mention of this drama on their website or on social media. And while some suggested the team's assets might be seized, I can tell you they are competing here in F2 and 3. Their cars are in the paddock. But as a result of that, Flavio Briatore steps in as team principal, and he's the 4th team principal at Alpine in less than 5 years. Now, one name that's popped up in media reports about this whole incident is Dmitry Mazepin, Nikita's dad. Dmitry owned shares in High Tech, but the Telegraph reported that he handed them over to Ollie 9 days before Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. Ollie then formed a new company to take control of those shares just days after Dmitry and Nikita were both sanctioned by the government and the European Union. Dmitry was actually in the Bahrain paddock during testing this year. I photographed him and noted that he had a paddock pass, which meant he could roam up and down the paddock, and I know that he was in the back of at least one of the team's garages during that testing weekend. But nothing much has been reported about Dmitry until last week. It should be remembered that there's no suggestion that Ollie was involved in any wrongdoing, and neither is he wanted for questioning. But there's a fair bit going on here, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the long run. Now, a lot of the drivers today were flying in from Nice, private flights. It's about a 6-hour drive, I think. But when you fly, you save a heck of a lot of time. I think it whittles it down to about 50 minutes. And in fact, if you're looking for a flight from Nice to Barcelona the day after the Monaco Grand Prix, I have a couple of seats left on a private jet. You're most welcome to join us. It's so much better than flying commercial. And if you are interested, just email me at info@kimillman.com, and that's Kim with a Y. Let's jump now to Kimi Antonelli. This is his home race. I actually watched the Kimi Antonelli documentary on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it, I'm going to recommend you go and look at it. It is fantastic. Delighted to tell you that we had Franz Herrmann in the paddock with us today. Who's Franz Herrmann, you ask? This fella. Max Verstappen, who took to the Nordschleife over the weekend to run in an event there and broke a record for the class he was driving. Now, most drivers have in their contracts that they can't do risky activities like skiing, parachuting or driving in other events. I'm not sure if Max has that in his contract, but I believe that Christian Horner and the hierarchy at Red Bull weren't aware that he was driving in that event. In fact, he had most people stumped by the registration, being Franz Herrmann, until people spotted him in the garage. Anyway, today he arrived without Red Bull clothing and with no cap on. I can tell you that is a rare thing. I had to look twice when I photographed Liam Lawson today because he is growing a moustache. That came as somewhat of a shock to me, and I think he's got a little bit of a way to go before that is complete. Now, Carl Lando fans, a nice pic for you, the pair of them arriving at the same time today. Fashion-wise, what was Lewis wearing? Well, unfortunately for those fashion lovers, just a Ferrari shirt. And when he actually came into the paddock, he did a hard left-hander and escaped most of the media's attention before sneaking into the Ferrari motorhome. But going back to Liam Lawson, he was wearing a Canadian tuxedo, all denim. And a little later on in the day, I saw model Carlos up on the balcony, modelling for the team photographer a new Williams shirt, which I gather you're able to buy now. Hey, look at this. Haas has a new motorhome made by German company Schuler. Now, this one is much bigger than their old one, that's for sure. 2 stories, but they can have a third added on later. It takes 8 men, 24 hours to build it, but unsure how long it takes to destruct it, as this is the first time they've had it in the paddock. In 1994, 2 drivers lost their lives at this track, Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna. Every year I come here and I'm always amazed by the number of flags and gifts and flowers that are here, largely for Ayrton. Some mentions of Roland, obviously, but this is the Ayrton Senna Memorial, and it's quite touching to stand here in this spot. Of course, at the time, Ayrton Senna was hugely revered, especially in Brazil, and just watching that vision of his funeral in Sao Paulo is quite heart-wrenching. In fact, I only have one picture of Ayrton Senna, and it was probably the first photo I took at an F1 race. Obviously, I wasn't working. This was as a spectator here at the Adelaide Grand Prix on the back of a motorcycle. Although this year I was quite surprised to see 2 merchandise stands set up right opposite this memorial. This is the Tuesday before the Imola race, and there are a number of fans waiting outside here.
I've been here all day for the drivers.
They're waiting for Lewis, though. They'll be out of luck because Lewis is staying at our hotel and we happen to be coming out of our hotel in the exact same moment that he rolled up in a black Alfa Romeo, jumped out the back seat and headed straight into the hotel. But still, Charles could be here.
Well, we're here to watch the Imola race. My kids are big F1 fans. We're too excited. We got Charles Leclerc to sign, lots of merch for us, books and all that.
You're a lucky man. Oh, and Esteban Ocon was also here earlier today doing some simulator work. This is such a small and very local town for it to be the epicenter for what is probably the greatest car brand in the world, Ferrari. And this is the commercial side of things on this side. They manufacture road cars behind me. And the warehouse, I'm told, is just a few kilometres up that way. But over that side is where the Ferrari race team has its headquarters. There are 2 very important Ferrari restaurants in this town. One is Cavallino. I ate here the last time, I think it was a year ago, maybe 2, and it is stunning. But the other one we're going to tonight, and I don't know whether we're going to get a table, is Montana. Let's have a crack. Well, Montana was booked out, but we did get to speak to Mama, the chef at that famous restaurant.
Allora, l'amicizia è nata quando lui è arrivato a Maranello. Questa è stata una sensazione sia per lui che per me a pelle, come noi diciamo in Italia. E praticamente io sono diventata la sua mamma qui in Italia. Una volta quando c'era lui, i piloti rimanevano delle settimane a provare, a fare i test in Fiorano. Adesso no, solo simulatore. Ma con Schumacher una settimana era via per il Gran Premio, una settimana era a Fiorano. E a Fiorano veniva a mangiare sempre qua. E dopo ho conosciuto la famiglia, siamo diventati amici. Questo è.
We've ended up here at restaurant Pastoncino, and I'll tell you why. Because the chef here, Luigi, used to be the original chef in the paddock for Formula One. What would you cook for Ayrton Senna?
Spaghetti parmigiano.
Schumacher? What did he love?
Minestrone.
Villeneuve?
Tagliatelle champignon.
And for the record, I had the tagliatelle bolognese, 8.2 out of 10. Guys, I now have to leave you, heading back to Aston Martin for a function on their rooftop of their hospitality suite, which I'm greatly looking forward to because I've had a shower and a shave. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for those not yet subscribed. And for a whole lot of extra content and merchandise and the like, these are the sites you need to know about. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.
Ciao! I know these kids. I videoed them last time. Oh, did you get that?